You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I am your host, Angela Smerito, and in studio with me we have our producer, Melissa Fox.
Hey!
How's it going, Melissa?
You know, it's going.
That's good. Up next, we have Melissa Jacob with Striking Brand.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Good
I know. It's always
Good
confusing.
evening, good night.
Well,
Whenever
since the
you're
show
listening.
is from 11 to 1, you can say good morning, and then like as the second hour gets there, you can say good afternoon. So Melissa is with Striking Brand, and she is our videographer and our co-host. So if you go to baadradio.com, you can see all of the previous YouTube videos of BaaD Radio, but you can also see the rest of Melissa's work at strikingbrand.com because, like I said, she's a videographer and she's a photographer. So please welcome to the show, Eduardo Osegueda. How'd I do? I got it right?
Perfect.
Eduardo is an expert and master teacher of self-healing and high performance. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I know,
very honored to be here.
With the names, it's one of those things that you can practice it, but when you get put on the spot to do it, it's like you just want to freeze up. So, you know what? I did okay, though, right?
Absolutely great.
So this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Frogger's Bar and Grill. If you're looking for a place to go with friends or meet new ones, then you're looking for Frogger's Grill and Bar. With 4 great locations, there's bound to be one near you. Come with friends or bring the family for some food and fun, and don't miss out on Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. Frogger's, hopping with food and fun. Next up, we have our networking news.
All right, networking news. The networking news is brought to you by Live Your Best Life. Live Your Best Life is an independent advocate for Green Compass USDA certified organic hemp products. They offer a complete range of products, including hemp wellness, targeted health, personal care, performance, and even products for our furry friends. To get more information on these products or becoming a consultant, you can call Terry at 407-616-3145.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
And actually, next week we're gonna move that sponsorship over to Symphonic CBD, which is a branch of Green Compass Global as well. So
it's with your daughter, right?
It's my daughter Anna. So
Right.
she's selling the CBD products under Terry. So we're just all one big happy CBD family. Edward, do you use CBD at all? Are you familiar with using it at all?
No, not.
Okay. None at all. Well, CBD is becoming more and more
prevalent
in the United States. I don't know if it is any other place in the world or anything like that.
I don't know. I'm not
Just hemp
sure.
products in general. So, but anyway, so for the networking news today, what I really wanted to talk about, something that happened to me over this past week, is that my Instagram got hacked. So we have John Kennedy with Forge IT Consulting on the line. John, can you hear us? John, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool.
There he
I
is.
just introduced you, so. But what I was saying is for the networking news today, I just want to talk about the importance of our social media, and I wanted to talk about how my Instagram got hacked. So that's why I asked you to call in today, because I want to talk a little bit about how we utilize our social media and networking, and then I really want your input on how to help us make sure that it doesn't happen to other people. So,
Of course.
I know for myself personally, I use my social media every single day, probably multiple times a day for networking. You?
Right, yeah, 100%.
Eduardo, what about you?
I should do it more for sure.
Yeah. And then, John, I know that you do a lot of IT stuff, but do you use your social media? You do, because you
Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of social media, but you got to do it. So I definitely put stuff out there every so often to keep my brand out there.
Yes. So what happened with me is I was half paying attention to something, and I got a message from somebody that I would normally get a message from, and I clicked on it, and that's all she wrote.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you know where that came from?
I do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, it was an action that I did when I wasn't paying attention.
It was just a regular email that.
No. It was a message.
Oh, okay. In Facebook.
No, in Instagram.
Okay. Sorry.
So I got a message from one of my friends, And I was at the gym and I wasn't really paying attention, and it said something and I was halfway looking at it, and so I just clicked on it. And next thing you and I know, I'm selling Bitcoin on my story.
That's like Bitcoin too? I saw the clothing line thing that you're starting a new clothing line. I'm like, go Angela.
Right.
I was kind of excited.
Yeah. I'm like, I also am wondering, like, John, what like, they're saying here's a clothing line, like,
Well,
what even, where
there
are they
was-
going with this?
There was 2 different ones that went out. One was that got posted to my Instagram story, and it was they took one of my good pictures though, which made me happy.
Angela. She's like, but what picture did they use? If you're gonna steal my identity, at least use a good picture.
They did. So it's like, but it was on my story, and it said something about I took $6,000 and I made it into $100,000.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Something like that. And
So proud of you.
Emily sent me a message, and she was like, "You're a hack, girl." I was like, "No." But then everyone started, blowing me up about this clothing line that I was supposedly starting.
So fun.
But the problem here lies the problem is starting a clothing line is something I would totally do. Right. And I use my social media so much, and I have so many contacts in my phone, in my Instagram, in my Facebook, more in my Facebook than my Instagram. So that's a good thing. But now this person has access to all my contacts that I have set up on Instagram. And if people have their Instagram and Facebook linked, John, tell me if I'm right with this. If I have, because I had my Facebook and my Instagram linked, I was worried that if they had access to my Instagram account, that they could get my Facebook as well. Do you know if that's
Quite
true?
likely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you've got them linked, they're essentially the same account.
Yeah.
So having access to one is having access to both.
Because they're the same company, right? They're owned by the same
Instagram
company.
and Facebook?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
Yes.
They are.
Are they? Well, so what I
Yes, they are.
did is the first thing I did is I went straight to my Facebook and I disconnected them. Like I said, I just
That was a good step.
yeah, and then I changed my password on my Facebook immediately. And
Also very good.
thank you. Pat on my back.
As long as it wasn't password 123.
No, no, I went in a completely different direction with my password.
No, ABC?
No, no,
That's good.
I'm talking about one.
no,
Sorry.
not a dog name, not a kid's birthday. No, the only one who knows this is right there.
Got you.
And so I felt comfortable with my Facebook because again, like I said, that's where I was really worried because now I've exposed all of my people that I network with to the scammer, and I'm like, no, what do I do? So I just immediately start saying, this is not me. This is not me. I had my husband get on there and say this is not her. And as far as I know, nobody fell for it. Right?
Right.
Good.
As far as I know.
Oh my God, I've spent so much in Bitcoin this week with you. Are you telling me it's a flake? Ugh.
So please let us know, John, what everybody can do to make sure that this doesn't happen to them as well. We have about 1 minute and 30 seconds.
So without having seen exactly what they do or what your old password was, I suspect it was a password that they were able to guess based off of information they were able to glean about you online. So anytime you use a password that has that kind of information in it, you're a lot less secure. Another thing that you can absolutely do to protect yourself is to use multi-factor or two-factor authentication in order to be able to log into your account. Basically, that means that in addition to typing in your username and password, it'll also ask you for a 6-digit key that changes all the time, either by sending you a text message or using an app on your phone that will give you the key just opening up the app on your phone. That method is actually much more secure because text messages, it's pretty easy if you know the person's phone number to actually clone their SIM and be able to get the same text messages they're getting. So that actual method is not as good, but still it's better than not having it at all. The point from this is that even if somebody gets your password, they still need to have this other thing that requires them to have your device in order to be able to log in as you.
Right. John, thank you so much for that. So that's, what did you call it? Two-way authentication? All right. So
That's right.
everybody,
Two-factor or multi-factor.
listen to that. So you guys, John with Forge IT Consulting, thank you so much for calling in today, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
John's a sponsor of the show as well.
Very welcome.
Forge IT Consulting. Thank you. All right, guys, we're going to go to break, and when we get back, we're going to jump in with Eduardo Osegueda. Did it good that time.
Yay.
So stay tuned.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And welcome back. This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. Spring is in the air, so now is the time to head to Premier Couple Superstore with a huge selection of lingerie, shoes, toys, games, love oils, and a ton of great gifts. Premier Couple Superstore has got what you want, so you don't pay those high prices because you're going directly to the source. 5009 South OBT, or shop online at premiercouples.net, because a couple that plays together stays together. All right, Eduardo Osegueda is an expert and master teacher at self-healing and high performance. I asked him a couple times before the show how he would describe what he does. But first, Eduardo, let's tell everybody how we met. So I met Eduardo at an event that I was sponsoring for the show, and it was in Baldwin Park. It was the one with Allie McCarroll.
Okay.
And Eduardo was walking by with his two daughters, correct?
That's correct.
Right. So what were you doing out in Baldwin Park with your daughters there?
Well, we were just walking out of their martial arts class, and I saw you there, and I don't know, I felt I had to meet you.
And actually, my daughter was with me that time. She was, I think we gave you some CBD stuff, like some
I
cream.
still have it there.
Okay. But anyway, so Eduardo we struck up a conversation, and then he reached out to me. And he and I were talking, like I said, when somebody reaches out to me about the show, first and foremost, I'm a little skeptical, because I'm like, okay, are you being serious, or is just this,
Okay.
So he sent me his website. And so I looked up his website, and I was like, oh, all right. So this is very, very interesting. Let's just start from the beginning. All right. It's your show now. Let's talk.
Well, I guess I have to talk a little bit about my antecedents. It all started when I was 2 years old.
Two?
Okay. And we made a trip to Acapulco.
First of all, tell everybody where you're from Mexico City,
I'm
right?
from Mexico City, yes.
Okay.
So we all got sick. We got an infection, a
whole
bacterial
family.
infection. The whole family got sick. But I was too young, and for me, it was more aggressive, and it got complicated. And
how many family members were there that got sick?
We're 5 siblings,
Okay.
and my parents.
So all of you, all 7 of you got sick?
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, it was,
Yeah, right.
I was 2. But maybe my older siblings were not there because they're much older than I am.
Oh, okay.
And my older sibling, she got married when I was 1. Actually, she had to postpone her wedding because I was gonna be born.
Are you one of those uh-ohs?
Yes, I was an uh-oh. Exactly. in more ways than one.
Okay.
So anyway, things got complicated, and I started being treated with huge amounts of antibiotics and other harsh medication, and that kept going for a few years. And I had moments in which my parents and my older siblings were afraid I was going to die because it got really bad. It was mainly in my respiratory tract.
Mm-hmm.
And
was it? I read. Was it rheumatic fever?
Yeah, eventually it was rheumatic fever. I was diagnosed with.
Okay, yeah, because I had heard of that, and then I Googled it real fast.
Rheumatic fever?
Yeah, and it said that you could get it from just like a strep throat.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm like, oh my gosh,
That's
a new
what
thing to be terrified about.
Oh, goodness.
No, most
It's
most
like
people,
kids,
most people
right?
get that strep, and it does not
Right.
turn into.
It's just like a rare
Yes.
instance.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do me a favor, pull that a little bit closer to your mouth for me.
Sure.
There you go.
So anyway, when I was 5 years old, my liver started acting funny.
Because you're taking all those drugs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So until I was 7, we found a doctor that was able to reduce the amount of antibiotics. And basically, he told my parents, if you don't take this kid away from Mexico City, he's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents could not move out of Mexico City.
Why
Because,
why did he say that?
Because of the pollution and the high altitude.
Oh, okay.
So they bought a house in a nearby town that was closer to sea
Lower.
level
Got
and clean air and very nice weather. And every weekend after school, they would take me out there, and every vacation period, and every time I got a crisis, and that really helped.
Mhm.
So I didn't stop taking antibiotics, but the amount definitely
Right.
was reduced.
But I mean,
And-
as you with antibiotics, doesn't your body's build up an immunity to
Oh, yeah.
where it doesn't really do anything anymore?
Yes.
So what do? You just have to cycle it around, like. So you're taking this one, and when it stops working, they give you another one, and then
They
you
give
wear that
stronger
one out.
ones, then they
Yeah.
got my tonsils out and
Mhm.
surgery, and nothing worked, and nothing was changing. But this doctor, just by getting me away from Mexico City as much as possible and taking care of certain things, cleaning my
Right.
my respiratory tracts constantly, it really helped. So when I was 7 years old, I started living a normal life again, on antibiotics and everything, but more
Right.
functional.
Because what would happen if you took away the antibiotics? It would just overtake it
Oh, yeah.
again?
Infection.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
the infection was constantly coming back. So I have moments in which I was okay, but then
Right.
all of a sudden,
I thought you'd like take a cycle of antibiotics and like knock it out. It just wouldn't knock out, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. But then when
Yeah.
you turned 7, sorry.
when I turned 7, I started practicing sports. I got into American football and martial arts, and that really helped me strengthen my body and I guess my spirit as well.
Yeah.
It made me a fighter, and so life looked good. I could see that it wasn't as difficult to my friends as it was for me, because I was always struggling with health issues, but at the same time, I was able to do almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
In sports, in school, it would be complicated to be one of the best, which was something that my parents expected from me, and I wanted to.
Right.
And I achieved, but with a lot of difficulty.
Yeah.
So in sports, you know how it is. I had to,
Well, if you have
to
breathing,
train really
yeah.
hard.
My son plays really competitive baseball,
Yeah.
and if you can't breathe right, or if your lungs are not working at 100%, it's very difficult to compete.
Yeah, or maybe I got the place to go into the game and not be seated at the bench, and 3 days before the game I would fall sick and I would miss the game, or I would miss the training and I would lose my place.
Right.
And so it was like that.
Disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
And in school, same thing. I was always fighting to be the best in class, and again, I would be ill.
A little
and
competitive, are we? I'm me.
Ah,
So
yeah.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Guilty. So anyway, so that was that, and I had moments of a lot of frustration, saying why is it so hard for me? But I still achieved a lot, and I guess now that I look in retrospective, I think that helped me. That helped me a lot, and it made me strong. So when I was 22 years old, things started going downhill.
With your health.
With my health, yes. So from 7 until 20, I was good. I was functional, always going to doctor's offices and making the best out of it. But when I was 22, I started losing a lot of weight. I started feeling so much more pain, swelling so much more. My heart started acting funny. My mind was not as clear anymore.
Right.
Something was happening, and I started experiencing something that I didn't know its name, but it was called chronic fatigue, and everything was getting harder and harder. Practicing sports, studying, everything I wanted to
Right.
do. And
Were you still in school at the time? Or-
yes.
Okay.
And I was in the
College.
in college. So I realized that I had given 20 years of my life to normal medical procedures and doctors, and they most of them tried to help, and I'm sure that if it wasn't for them, I would probably not be here. But in that road, I also was a victim of medical negligence and medical abuse. I had very bad experiences as well, which made me very reluctant to try something new,
Right.
or to keep going. And my last experience with the last doctor I ever visited was terrible.
Okay, you know what? We're going to be going to break.
Cliffhanger.
And this is a cliffhanger.
Thank you.
So everybody stay tuned. And when we get back, we're going to find about this terrible experience. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for a small business. No company is too small. ForgeITConsulting.com. And John called in earlier, and we always appreciate him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we left with a cliffhanger. We are talking with Eduardo Osegueda. And he is an expert and master teacher of self-healing and high performance. So he told us a little history about him growing up, the health issues, and then we were like, our cliffhanger was one of your last terrible experiences. So what happened?
Yeah, it was the last. You're
22.
I was 22. I had been for a year and a few months with this doctor and following everything that he said. I was very obsessive, and I am very obsessive. It is one of my... I guess that's the way I am, but sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not that great.
I have a feeling it sounds like you and our personalities are very similar.
Yeah. So anyway, I was like the perfect patient. I will do everything exactly as he said. And after a year and a half, things were out of control. He had no idea what was happening with me, and I confronted him. And basically, after getting a lot of terrible secondary effects from the treatments that he was giving me, he just told me, you have bad luck. And
a doctor told you you would just have bad luck.
Yeah, it was a long relationship, and he basically washed his hands and said, "It's your problem. You have bad luck, and go see someone else." Mm-hmm. So he was so mean and so hurtful that it was a moment in my life in which that triggered the decision of me taking responsibility of my own health. So what that moment did for me was, I understand now that was the beginning of my healing process. Everything else I did before was taking my body to the doctor to have it fixed. Like you take your car to the shop to have it fixed. And I never took responsibility. I always expected my healing to come from them, from the medication, from the doctors, from the experts, not from me. Mm-hmm. And after that experience and that very difficult moment in that doctor's office, I went back to my house and I made probably the biggest decision of my life. And I said, healing is something I have to do. It's nothing anybody else can do for me. Mm-hmm. And of course, then the question arises, how do I do it? And my first answer was, well, I'm going to study medicine myself. And I applied for medical school and I was accepted. And the first day of classes, I dropped off.
First day,
because that day I realized I was going to embark in a very long career, in a very demanding effort.
Right.
And I was not feeling well on one hand. And on the other hand, I realized that I was going to learn everything that my doctors, who really tried to help me and were very talented and had a lot of experience, had already tried on me, and it didn't help. So I was going to have the same approach, and I was going to have the same limitations. So I had been observing myself for all my life, trying to figure out why this was happening to me. Always the why was there, always, why does this happen to me? I'm a good kid. I eat well. I practice sports. I am healthy. I have a healthy lifestyle, yet my body's not healthy. So why? My friends who smoke and drink and they don't care and they are so great. And
so you didn't want to settle for just you have bad luck? And,
Exactly. So I wanted to figure out the pattern. I wanted to understand why this was happening to me. And I realized that the mind plays a big role, because I had days in which I felt terrible and there were days that I felt better. And I realized that there was some association with the activities and plans that I had programmed for the day. Mm-hmm. So, but I had no control over it, and I didn't really understand it deeply. So what happened was that through sports, I was lucky enough to meet a number of doctors who had a very open-minded approach to medicine and to medical science. They were not only PhDs in normal medicine, they also had a lot of research in acupuncture and homeopathy and all these other things
like
that
holistic type.
Yeah. And me coming from a very old-fashioned family, a family of doctors and lawyers, and when I first heard about these other options, it sounded like witchcraft.
I know. See, I'm the same way, and that's what it's one of the things when I was, talking about you being on the show is like I don't like to use the word skeptic, but I am, I am, because it's the way I always brought up. I'm totally open to listening to whatever works for anybody, but in the back of my mind, I'm like,
that's good though. I think skepticism's good as long as you're open.
Yeah.
As long as
but
you're open.
part of me says it's a placebo. You think that you're going to feel good, so you do feel good. But even if it's a placebo, who cares? You feel good,
Yeah,
so
it
why
works.
not just be like, okay, that worked,
Exactly.
even if it didn't. So I'm like, I still see it as a good thing.
Exactly, and placebo is something quite accepted in regular medical practice, and there's a lot of research that shows that placebo sometimes works. And
Because
they,
it's so mental.
And they tried it on me, but it didn't work.
No.
And anyway, I was able to approach these doctors, and I decided to open my mind because it was very clear that regular medicine was not doing the trick. So I had to look elsewhere. And when I approached them with a very scientific
When you
mindset
say approach
myself.
them, you're talking about the doctors that were doing the acupuncture.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, because I didn't go back to giving them the responsibility of my health,
right.
but I went to learn what they were doing. So I worked for some of them, and I really researched, and I never took another medication or submitted myself to any kind of treatment without really understanding enough what the risks were and what the possibilities of success were, and every time I decided, okay, I'm going to do this. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, it's going to be my fault. It's going to be my decision, my risk. So in that process, I learned a lot. I helped doctors teach workshops to other doctors. I was certified as a kinesiologist, which it's kinesiology is a form of mostly diagnosis in which an expert can measure the muscle response that your body has to certain stimuli. It can be food, which you might be allergic to, and if you have that food on your belly and the doctor tests your muscle response, if your body responds weakly, then doctor knows that specific food is not good for you.
Very interesting.
And it's scarily accurate. Like I met a lot of experts in the field, and it's scarily accurate. Like things that it took a lot of lab tests for my regular doctors to realize in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes, these people were able to see it right through me. So it really
But
it was
has
really
a lot
shocking.
to do with your gut, like how you process stuff.
Not only. We can talk about that in an entire show.
Okay. Well, we still got time. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we won't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the main thing was that I learned a lot of great things, and I saw a lot of these methodologies and a lot of these resources work marvelously in many people, but in my case, nothing seemed to be working. So I kept looking for different options and meeting a lot of interesting people.
But during all this time, you really don't feel good? Okay.
Yeah. My weight was...
What is? I mean,
I
we
was
have about
so
a minute
thin.
left. What was your day consist of? Like wake up, not feel good. I mean, like I'm trying to get an idea of like what your mental state was, because when you don't feel good, your mind is not there either.
Yeah. In the beginning, I tried to keep things still working. I finished my career. I started working in an agency. I studied business administration and graphic design, and there were days in which I just couldn't function. I just couldn't leave home.
That's what I'm saying. It's hard
So
to stay motivated.
I was not being able to fulfill my responsibilities, and I had to keep my house and pay the bills and everything, until one day I just realized that I just couldn't keep going anymore. And that's when I sold my house and sold my car and sold everything that I had, so I could focus exclusively in trying to find a solution to my problem, or at least an answer to my question.
Right. Now, this sounds interesting because this is like, all right, I threw in the towel and I'm going, all in. So everybody stay tuned because when we get back, we're going to find out what happens when you just like get rid of everything to follow what you're looking for here. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. If you're looking to buy a house, you need to listen to me now. Include an irrigation inspection in the buying process. Also, with the rainy season around the corner, you should definitely ask Ground Up Property Services about the water sensor so your lawn does not get over watered, because too much water is just as bad as not enough water. So you can reach Rick and his team at 407-468-4295 or catch them at groundupinc.net. Okay, so we're talking with Eduardo Osegueda, and he is an expert and the master teacher of self-healing and high performance. Next time we come up, I'm going to let you do it, okay? All right, so before break, we were talking about he had gotten to this point, right? Born in Mexico City, grew up healthy, not healthy, lots of health problems. So we got to about 22 years old, kind of threw in the towel with a couple doctors, and right now it's pretty much just sold everything to, I would call it a quest, to go on a quest to find out.
Sounds like Zelda. It sounds like Zelda.
Oh, I don't play Zelda. Is that a game?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I've never played it, but yeah.
God. Does anybody? Melissa knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm going to
Melissa,
say
thank
the
you.
princess.
I love
lady.
the art.
Thank you.
I love the art for Zelda.
All right, so now we're on a quest. Let's
Yes.
go.
Yes, I mean the quest started before, but
Yeah.
like I said, I tried to manage everything, and I just couldn't keep going. So I devoted entirely to researching and studying. I travel often to the United States and meet with different doctors here. And
You're in North America this whole time.
Yes.
Okay.
But I was between Mexico and the United States.
Right. Okay.
So you sold your house, so you were just living. Where are we living now?
Wherever.
Did you have a family?
No.
Okay, so you're single at this time.
I had 2 dogs, which were my family. And
Right.
I adored them, and it was a very difficult decision to have them adopted by one
I was
of my
about to say,
students.
I don't know what you're about to say, but if you're going to say anything other than adopted, then we're going to have a problem.
No. I had been teaching martial arts until my body just completely shut down, and I had very close students and who knew my dogs, and my dogs knew them. So I think it was a good transition, but still it was painful to say goodbye.
Yeah, those are your babies.
Yeah, and so I would be traveling. I would be living sometimes at friends' houses and doctors' places. I worked as a babysitter for one of the doctors, and I was taking care of the kids while he was
So you're traveling
teaching me and
with what goal? I meant you're like
learning and trying new methods, trying new things, seeing if something could finally help me feel better. Or
Where are you finding these different? Like you're researching these different methods. Like where are you finding the things?
Someone would refer me to someone else,
Gotcha.
and I would just ask and approach
Right.
them, and like that, until eventually this doctor from Europe, he came to Mexico. I was in Mexico at the time, and I went to see him through a referral, and he did another kinesiology testing. That was I was already a certified kinesiologist, but I never saw kinesiology at a level that this man did, and he really shocked me. And we started a treatment, and always with my treatments, not only with him but with other doctors before that, the problem of finding the medication wherever I was so difficult. Not only was it expensive, it was difficult to find. If I was in Mexico, some medication was only available in the United States, and I could not order it and have it
What
shipped.
kind of medications are we talking about? I meant like obviously not just like amoxicillin and things like that.
Yeah, no, it wasn't regular medication anymore.
Right.
It was more of very specific supplements and
Okay.
yeah, and herbs and stuff like that, and compounds and different things that we didn't have in Mexico. So I had doctors send me medication, hidden in books inside of envelopes, ridiculous things like.
Was it illegal?
That's what's better.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
But they were willing to help me, and nothing bad, of course. But I always felt my life was depending on that, and it was so nerve-wracking.
I can imagine.
The medication shipped, and it took forever to arrive to Mexico, and then when it arrived, you didn't know if it was going to go through or not, and I was feeling like I was dying, and then the medication got there, and I took it, and nothing happened. I never felt better. Mm-hmm. So same thing happened with this last man, and after a while he said, okay, I've spoken with other doctors in Germany and France, and we think that your case is very interesting to us. We're not only doctors, we're also researchers, and we want to dive deep into your case because you're an abnormal patient. You've tried so many things and nothing has worked on you. So we want you to come to Europe and have you tested really deeply and have you go through a very specific protocol in which we can take care of every variable in your process.
Okay.
And because one of the big things was diet.
Okay.
I had been on very restrictive diets for years, but this last doctor, his diet was like, I described it very simply. There was nothing that I could buy in Mexico that I could eat. Nothing. Like no fruits, no vegetables that had pesticides on them. No meats treated with antibiotics. Everything had to be organic. There was nothing organic in Mexico at that time.
Right.
So nothing processed, no kinds of sugar, nothing. So if I went to a market and literally there was nothing that adapted to what the doctor told me that I should not eat or I should eat. So they had me come to Europe and he was very honest. He said, we cannot promise you anything, but we want to research. We want to find out. Are you willing to cooperate? Are you willing to do everything we tell you? I was like, yes, of course, let's do it. So after a few months of being in Europe.
Where in Europe?
Spain, Germany, and France.
Okay.
And having a lot of tests done on me and having all the medication they needed to give me and everything. They realized that the root of the problem was that the rheumatic fever had caused important damage in my heart, and the medication, so many years of antibiotics and other heart medication had damaged my liver.
Right, so you have heart damage and liver damage.
And kidneys. And adrenals.
Oh, dang.
And lungs.
So nothing
and
serious.
Right.
Yes, I had problems in my blood. Everything was shutting down. And when they first said heart, the first thing I thought was, okay, can I have a transplant? And they said, no, you're not.
A transplant for which organ to pick
yeah,
first?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pick one. If it was just one, maybe. But in your situation, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing no one can do. And we've only had one case, not as bad as yours, but she didn't make it for more than a year. So there's nothing anyone can do to help you at this point. And we're very sorry, but
that's what all the doctors in Europe were saying.
They just said, "Oh, tough. You're going to die."
Yeah, basically they said I was going to die in most likely less than a year.
Oh my!
And they told me you have to speak with your family, you have to let them know, and you have to go back to Mexico. There's nothing else that you don't need to be here. There's nothing we can do here. So find a place to be as close to as possible to sea level and take as best care of yourself as you can, and good luck. So that was another big moment of decision in my life, because when they told me I was going to die, it didn't come as big news, because I was feeling it. I had been feeling it for months or years even. So I always say that I felt like I was the flame of a candle, and it was just turning it off. And I actually told my friends, the very close people that I had that knew what was going on with me, that's exactly what I explained to them. I really feel like my flame is just turning off.
Right.
And so when they told me this was happening, I decided that I was not going to spend the last moments of my life obsessed with dying. Rather, I was going to make the best I could do with the life that I had. And I decided I was going to devote those last moments to living.
I love that. And on that note, we're going to go to break. And I want to, I'm inspired right now. And I can't wait to hear more. So everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Oh, you've been listening to the first hour of BaaD Radio. Believe it or not, we're coming back for another hour. Stay right there.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
And welcome back as we launch into the second hour of BaaD Radio. We're going to run through all the regular info for those of you who might have just joined us. I am Angela Smorito, your host, and we've got our producer, Melissa Fox.
Hi.
Our co-pilot and videographer, Melissa Jacob.
Hello.
And her business is called Striking Brand. And you can find all of BaaD Radio, previous episodes of BaaD Radio on baadradio.com. But then you can also find the rest of Melissa's work on strikingbrand.com. She is a videographer as well as a photographer. And then I'm going to let her introduce our guest.
All right. It's Eduardo Osegueda.
Look at it.
Oh, are you going to fix me? I said it right?
Great.
Eduardo Osegueda.
That sounds so pretty.
Nice.
Said
Thank
it
you.
with an accent. Eduardo is an expert and master at self-healing and high performance. And so for the first hour, we were just kind of talking about, the beginning from 2 years old up to, so now that you are in Europe and you've pretty much been told that you are going to die, how old were you at this time?
I was 28.
Okay. So still a young man.
Yes.
So that was 6 years then of kind of just searching for different types of, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
More
Yes.
or less.
So anyway, as tough as the news were, they were also kind of liberating at the same time.
They said liberating?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, because I had been struggling all my life with not only trying to improve my health and heal, but also with achieving many things. And like I said, I was very ambitious with my goals, and I wanted to achieve. My father wanted me to be the president of Mexico, just to give you an idea.
Wow.
He had the knowledge and the means
Right.
to get me there, but I didn't want to. And when I told him that I didn't want to go that path when I was in high school, he stopped talking to me for a couple of years. That's how serious.
Because you didn't want to go into politics
Yes,
in Mexico
I
City.
I didn't want to study law, and I didn't want to go into politics.
Was he in politics? Sorry, this is a
He
sidebar.
had been. He had
Okay.
been. For a long time he hadn't, but he was when I was a kid, and yeah, he was his favorite time of his life.
And didn't talk to you for 2 years, you said.
Yeah, for a couple of years,
my God.
our relationship was really, really
Rough.
itchy.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, when that information came from my doctors in Europe, to me was like, okay, this is it. So no more goals to accomplish.
Right.
No more ambitious tasks to fulfill. Nothing to prove. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to spend whatever I have left to fulfilling as many dreams as I can.
Love it.
And to just making the best out of each day. And I had days, most of my days, I was in bed and I couldn't move. And it was hard just to go to the bathroom or to grab something to eat, even if the table where the food was a couple of yards away from me. But I had these other days in which I felt a little stronger, and I was able to jump on a bus and go to the ocean and just enjoy the views and the water. In the water, my body was not heavy, so it was easy for me to move and things like that. And when I realized I was having a great time. I was in pain. I was sick. I was financially broken, because all my money had almost depleted. And I was away from all my family members. They were not close to me. They were in Mexico City. I was living in the Yucatan Peninsula. But I was so grateful for everything I was experiencing, for every landscape I was looking at, every sky, every cloud, every bird I was hearing chirp, and it was incredible because I lived my life always hearing and thinking that in order to be happy, in order to be fulfilled, your health has to be well. Like that's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing in life is health, most people say. And after that, love. And after that, finances, because if your finances are okay, is better.
Yeah.
We say in Mexico, with bread, pains are less. The pain hurts less. But there I was in this moment of my life in which I was never worse when it came to my health. I was never more broke and without the stamina, the strength to generate more money, because I started generating money when I was 16 years old, and all of a sudden I just couldn't work. I couldn't keep going. And I was away from all my family, and most of them didn't even know what was going on with me. So nevertheless, I was feeling so fulfilled, and I realized that fulfillment doesn't come from having perfect health or having the perfect family or having everything in your life go smoothly. It comes from being able to appreciate whatever it is that you have in life. So I was there most of the time laying on a bed in pain, with difficulty to breathe, with my heart doing funny things, and yet I was enjoying everything. And I was ready. I had said my goodbyes, most of them in written form, for when the moment came, because I didn't want to advance the news before it was necessary, absolutely necessary. And I was in so much peace, just waiting for the moment.
Lovely, though. I mean, it's sad, but it's lovely.
It is. And I was not afraid of dying. I had my moments in which it was spooky, but at the same time, I realized that death is something that we're all going to go through at some point. It couldn't be bad, per se. So, and then the news came from one of my former doctors from Holland. He had been invited to China to conduct research at the world's largest medicine-free hospital. And this is one of the doctors with a very open mind who had researched many things around the world. And I had a very high respect for him, and I admired him very much. And we kept going with our friendship. And when he came back from China, he got in touch with me. He said he had seen the most amazing thing he had ever seen in his life. He was in this hospital where no medication was used whatsoever, no form of treatment, no herbs, no needles, not even special diets. And that was a big one for him, because he was always talking about diet and nutrition and everything. And he was like, no, not even special diets. Wow. People eat normal food, regular food. And I saw people healing from all kinds of diseases. I saw it with my own eyes. So he was really shocked. Okay. And he explained to me that the only thing that they did at that hospital was teach people a few exercises that anybody could perform with their mind and with their body. Movements so simple that even very ill people could perform. Okay. But the most important thing was the use of the mind, which it wasn't like meditation. Mm-hmm. It was just learning to concentrate in specific parts of the body and in specific states. Mm-hmm. And there's a very clear methodology for that, and magic happened. So he insisted that I tried the exercises, and he sent me a video. Mm-hmm. And the video was sent to my mom's house in Mexico City. I was living at the Yucatan Peninsula. Right. And my mom immediately called me when she received the envelope from the doctor who had treated me for so many years. And I told my mom, don't even bother. Don't send it. I wasn't even willing to try it. I was so into my thing. Yeah. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to watch the video anyway, because it was coming from Europe and I was in Mexico and I didn't have a VCR. And I don't know if you remember or if you know, but the system in the video system for Europe is different than the one for America. So yeah, I knew I wasn't going to be able to watch it. But something happened, and someone was able to transfer the video to a forum in which I could eventually watch it. And something very strange happened when I tried the first exercise.
All right. You know what? We're going to go to break. And when we find out, we're going to find out what that really strange thing that happened with this videotape. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more BaaD Radio.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And welcome back. This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Rachel Roach Realtor, a Coldwell Banker Realtor. With a sea of realtors out there, choose one that thinks about you first and not their commission. 407-252-4566. All right, so we are on a journey right now with
Eduardo Osegueda.
Beautiful. An expert and master in self-healing and high performance. And so before the break, we got left with another cliffhanger, and we're going to catch right back in. But now, like I said, my main
exercise. You tried an exercise and something weird happened.
You weren't even willing to try. And so what happened?
Well, the Chinese have a term called yuan, which is, it means something similar to what we call destiny. And I learned that sometime after. But something happened with that video that it got transferred to a format and given to me so I could watch it. And the first time I watched the exercises, I just couldn't wrap my head around why something like that would actually make a difference in my health or my body, because this, like I said, the exercises are so simple.
Simple. Okay, I was going to say what makes it was because of just they're just simple.
Yeah. So I wasn't, even after I watched the exercise, I wasn't even willing to try it. But what happened was that in Europe, the doctors that treated me at the very end of the process, they told me, after seeing that I was laying down all day for days and days in a row, they said if you don't get up every single day, at least for 30 minutes, and even if you have to grab yourself from the curtains and walk just for 30 minutes a day, you're going to suffer so much more, and you're going to, it's just going to be terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm very disciplined, and I'm very obsessive with things that I trust. So I trusted them enough to make sure that after that day, I walked every single day for 30 minutes at least. And this day came in which I was there in Mérida, and sometimes it took the entire day for me to gather the physical strength to just get up and get out and start walking. But every day I fulfilled the task. But this particular day, the night was falling, and I hadn't been able to get up. And just when I was getting up, this huge storm came. And I had heard about cases with these huge storms where big branches of trees had fallen down and crashed cars, and so I knew it was dangerous, and it was going to be a stupid idea to get out of the house and take a walk. So I remember thinking, okay, these exercises from the video, they are so insignificant, they are so simple that I don't know if that's going to count like I moved, because the whole concept was you have to move for at least 30 minutes a day. But I had no other option. I had nothing else I could do in a very small room where I was living, and I decided to try the exercise. And when I tried the exercise, which is a 15-minute exercise, the very basic exercise, I started having a very bad feeling. I started feeling a lot of pain. I started bleeding, and a lot of things started to happen that I don't want to go into detail. But the thing was that I was very shocked that it seemed like a very weird coincidence that I started feeling that way, and I started having those reactions exactly during those 15 minutes of doing those very simple exercises.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So my first reaction was, no, it has to be that, a coincidence. And of course, I'm very ill, so things are just going worse, and the moment is approaching. So that was that. But then the next day, I was curious. I was like, what if I try again? Let's see what happens. And I tried again, and again, same thing. Exactly.
It made you feel bad, though.
I was feeling terrible.
What?
But that was not new for me.
Yeah.
So,
what types of exercises? Like, can you give an example? Like some sort of frame of reference?
The movements are similar to the way you stretch in the morning when you just wake up, but they just have very specific instructions.
Okay.
You have to do it with both sides at the same time, and you have to bring your hands up and down in a very specific angle, and things like that. But they're movements that most people can do.
Okay.
And even people who cannot do the movements, because there's people without arms, so they cannot move their arms, of course, they can still do all the mind part, all the mental part, in which you have to concentrate in specific parts of the body and stuff
so it's like a
that.
two-part thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it works together. It works in synergy, one thing with the other. But so anyway, I tried it again, and I tried it again day after day, and every single day when I practiced, something like that happened. And actually, I had stopped taking allopathic medication for years, and I felt so badly that I had to call my mom and ask her for the name of one of my former medications that controlled. I had a very bad ulcer, and that had been under control for years, but it came back from the exercise.
Why did you decide you wanted to keep doing the exercises even though they kept making you feel
because
bad?
it was fascinating. I'm very curious. I have a scientific mind. So it was fascinating to me because I had tried so many things for so many years in so many countries, and I had been given such aggressive treatments, and I had been gone under surgery, and nothing had ever given me so tangible results in such very little
painful.
time. I know, but I first of all, I wanted to make sure it was that,
right,
and it was not just my condition.
Was it just during the times you were doing the exercise, or afterwards too?
It was during the exercises, and then right after,
and then it would subside.
And I started feeling things that I never felt before. Like I never had a headache. Everything in my body had hurt, but I didn't know what
I know.
I didn't know what a headache
I'm
was.
done with this. And
I didn't know what a headache was.
Wow.
Until that day.
Wow.
And my headache was so painful that I couldn't even tie my shoes. I was like, so I was fascinated.
You were fascinated that these movements made you sick as a dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
you have to be very curious.
I was very skeptical, and I am to this day. Yeah. So I contacted the doctor, my doctor friend, and I told him, okay, something's happening. So either your video is wrong or I'm doing something wrong, but something's definitely happening. And his reply was very simple, and he had just been a few days in China. So I decided I had to go to China and try on my own. I had to go deep into whatever it was that was happening. I didn't think I was going to heal or anything, but I just wanted to understand. Like I said, I spent many years of my life trying to heal, but I knew that if at least I could understand what was happening to me, even if I couldn't heal, that would bring some level of relief.
Right. Well, you're just super curious.
Yeah. So I decided to go to China and dive deep into this knowledge, and I was ready to face whatever it was. I was ready to realize that the whole thing was just a big hoax, or maybe like many things before in my life, I was going to see people who could benefit from that, but it wasn't going to benefit me. But at least I wanted to understand why these simple movements were causing so much reactions in my body. And it wasn't easy. That was back in 1999, and internet was really just starting. Most people didn't have internet in their homes. I had to go to an internet cafe, or I had to borrow a computer from my university to do my research, until eventually I went to China. And nothing in China was the way I expected. First of all, I tried to go to the hospital where my doctor friend has been. But
the hospital with no medicine.
Yes.
Okay.
But when I finally was able to make contact with them, they told me that the hospital was not open during the winter for foreigners, and I had to wait until the next summer.
Jeez.
And I told them.
What time of the year was it?
It was the beginning of autumn. You
had to wait all the way through.
Yeah. The program for foreigners had just ended.
Oh.
Actually, it took many calls to be able to talk with a person that actually spoke English.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to continue on this story as soon as we get back from break, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And we are back. This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most important investments, so don't trust it to just anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. We had Mike Kamen in last week, and he was a great interview. Mm-hmm. I'm always amazed of how interesting certain topics are, like home inspections, or irrigation systems, and stuff like that. And this one is no different. So we're talking with Eduardo Osegueda. Yep, he gave me a thumbs up. He's an expert and master at self-healing and high performance. All right, so he is now in China, and we were talking about trying to actually find somebody that spoke English.
Yes.
So that you could communicate going to this hospital that does not, it's a no medicine hospital.
That's
How big was this facility?
About 5,000 people every 24 days.
Dang.
Yeah, and they were not called patients, they were called students.
Okay.
Because people didn't go there to receive healing or to receive a treatment. They actually went there to learn how to use their mind and their body to overcome disease. And not only ill people went there, also healthy people, athletes, entrepreneurs, healthy people who just wanted to awaken their inner power, mental, physical, emotional. This practice is the result of over 5,000 years of research by China's...
What's it called?
It's called Qigong. You probably heard the term. There's many, when we talk about Qigong, there's many different forms of Qigong, many different traditions, many different styles. In this hospital, only one style was ever used, and it's called Zhineng Qigong. And this particular style was... endorsed by the Chinese government, the National Bureau of Sciences, the Public Health Ministry, as the most effective mind and body practice to have ever existed. It had over 20 years of scientific research behind it. Thousands and thousands of scientists were involved in the research protocols, and hundreds of thousands of people underwent these studies. And they also conducted studies with fruits, with vegetables, with animals, and the effect that the electromagnetic field has upon every living organism, and even metals and other kinds of things, and how the human mind has an inherent ability to influence that field. And of course, it sounds very, very strange.
Hokey pokey kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly. But like Melissa said very well before, it's not about believing. It's about just having an open mind. Mm-hmm. So that's what made me go to China, just an open mind. I just wanted to see for myself, with my own eyes, if anything that was real.
Were you going because you wanted to see if you could disprove it? Were you like going just to be like... Yeah, say, what is this crap all about?
In a way, it would put my heart at ease. You know, like, okay, I tried it. I see that is not real. So that
would be me going, I'm going to try this.
Exactly.
We'll just see.
Exactly. And like I said, I wasn't at the hospital itself because the hospital closed its doors for foreigners during that time. And I was invited to come the next summer, and I was not going to make it to the next summer.
Oh, wow.
So something happened in which the Grandmaster at the foot of China's most sacred mountain, it's called Taishan, in Shandong province, she learned about my case through the phone call that I had with the person who spoke English at the hospital. She learned about my case, and they got in touch with me a few days later, saying that Master Wang had invited me to come to the foot of Taishan.
Wow. How did that make you feel?
To be honest, scared, because I didn't know if I was going to be taken advantage of, which I had been warned of.
You mean
before.
with money? Like they're going to
Yes.
I
didn't know if I was speaking with the real people. I didn't know if this person was really a master or not.
I didn't think about that, but now that you say that,
no, I did because I did my homework. I did a lot of research. It took me months to get in touch with the people I finally got in touch with. So, but I had no other option. You know, I had two options: staying at this place in the Yucatan Peninsula until the end came and do nothing else, or adventure to the other side of the world and at least
just got to do it.
Learn new things and see different things.
Yeah.
Exactly. Experience a different culture. And I decided to go. And I bought a one-way ticket. I didn't know if I was coming back or not. I knew that it was very likely that I might not make it back. And the toughest part of the decision was I didn't know if I was going to be able to see my parents ever again.
Right.
So I got to China, and like I said before the break, nothing was as I expected it to be. I finally made it to the foot of the Taishan Mountain, where I thought I was going to be breathing pure air, which my therapists in Europe had warned me that it was very important for me to watch out for pollution or any form of something that could be aggressive to my body and my condition. And yes, I was at the foot of the Taishan Mountain, the most sacred mountain of China, but at the foot of that mountain, they built an industrial city, and the mountain itself did not allow for the pollution to go away. So the pollution was terrible. It was worse than in Mexico City.
Wow, that's surprising.
The food was also very challenging for me. It was nothing like the Chinese food I knew in the West. It was Chinese food from the north of China and a lot of pork, a lot of things that I was not supposed to eat, a lot of things that I never knew what they were. You know.
You poke at it.
Yeah, the flavors, the smells, it wasn't easy. And the cold. I was minus 20 degrees Celsius. That was the average temperature most of the time. And I don't know how, in Fahrenheit, that is,
sounds cold.
It's a very low temperature. It's way below
it's a place I would not survive.
No, it's not. You're not painting a very pretty picture.
Yeah, and I didn't have the right kind of clothing. I didn't come prepared for that kind of cold, and so I was suffering through it. And my body did not generate heat because I was very ill. So it was very, very tough, and I was not feeling anything when I was in China. I spent there about 3.5 months, 4 months, and nothing happened. Not even the bad reactions that I had in the beginning were happening again.
Just like the status quo.
Yeah. So I confronted the teachers. I told them, you know, what's happening? Because in the beginning, I was at least feeling this weird stuff and having these funny
but
reactions.
Were you still going through the exercise?
I was still going through the exercise. And the video of my friend was wrong, but they explained to me that was not the problem. And what happened to me was actually not a problem. It was a healing crisis that a few people go through. Most people don't go through those, but it was my case, and I did go through a healing crisis. And
are you saying a healing crisis?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was what they explained had happened when I started with the video of my friend.
Okay.
But in China, not even that. So I was practicing all day long, and going through the programs and the learning everything, and they were training me in a very special way. They always insisted. They had never trained anyone the way they trained me. And I always assumed they were doing that because, first of all, I was not at the hospital. I was at the foot of the Taishan Mountain, so I had a lot of attention devoted to me specifically.
Right.
Whereas in the hospital, they had to take care of a lot of patients and a lot of people. So I felt I was lucky. And then I also felt that they were teaching me all these things because I was very, I've always been a good student. So I was very devoted and tried very hard. And also because I was sick. Mm-hmm. Until one day, Master Wang, we were at her house, and she was peeling a pear for me to eat. And she was with this big smile in her face, and she told me that she expected me to, after I left China, to come back to the West and teach this to the world. And I got into the biggest crisis I had in China when I realized that she was expecting me to do something that I was not willing to do, and I didn't have the physical strength to even try.
All right. Well, I'm very intrigued. So that music means that we're going to break, and when we get back, we're going to finish up our story. So this is fun. It's like listening to somebody tell me
story time.
Story time. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more BaaD Radio.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And I want to give a huge thank you to a couple more of our sponsors. Bolts Legal, fear no storm with boltslegal.com. 33 Tanning Spa with locations in Altamont Springs and Longwood. Andrews Law PA. She's an auto accident attorney. You can contact her at andrewslawpa.com. And Crazy Muscle Nutrition in Longwood and soon to be Castleberry. So we had Zach in here last week telling us all about that. All right, so we are in our very last segment with Eduardo Osegueda. And Eduardo is an expert and master at self-healing and high performance. And so we've been following him on this journey from being 2 years old. He's in China right now, and he basically just got told, you're going to be a teacher.
Exactly. When I was dying and I didn't feel any better in all the months that I spent in China. And I had many moments of being in China in which I was just about to throw the towel, and the teachers were saying that there was no way in which I would be practicing what I was practicing and have no benefits.
Right. Were they taking care of you at this time too? Like financially? Were you living with them? I mean, how are you?
No,
I
I was using the last money that I had
Okay.
left.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
still had to pay for your
Oh,
own living.
Yeah, and the training and everything, yes. But I kept going, and when the teacher Wang said I was going to teach, I replied no. My immediate reaction was said, no way. And the translator looked at me, and she asked me, are you going to insult the master, saying, now here you have the biggest master at the foot of the China's most sacred mountain, saying that you're going to teach, and you're going to say no? And I said, well, I really don't feel capable of, and I don't, I haven't seen any results in me. How would I teach something like that? And so she said, well, can you think of a better question, of a better answer? And I said, okay, please tell her that I will consider teaching if I heal. If I recover my health, then I will consider
Fair
teaching.
enough.
I didn't want to promise. I didn't even want to promise that I would teach if I got healed.
Right.
But, and she replied that, and Teacher Wang, she just smiled so much more. She finished peeling the pear. She gave it to me, and she said, enough. Eat. You're going to teach Chinang Qigong.
Okay.
And my training came to an end.
Was she old, young?
She was old. Yeah, she was old.
Okay.
She is old. She's like a second mother to me now.
Uh-huh.
And my training ended, and I was put on a plane back to the United States, where I spent about another 3 months. And it was during that time, during those first couple of months, in which everything started changing. All the changes started triggering. I started gaining weight back. I started getting super strong. People who saw me before going to China asked me if I had gone to China to pump some iron, because I had gotten so strong, and I never did any kind of athletic activity there or anything. Pain was going away. Inflammation was going away. My skin changed. My vitality got to a point that I never experienced before. My mind was clear. I was inspired. I was creative. My eyesight improved. It was crazy. Every single day, something new was happening.
Well, that's so cool.
And they told me something like that would happen, but I didn't believe it when I was in China. They were constantly told me, you're changing. You just don't realize it yet.
Well, because back then it was like you felt so bad, you really didn't notice like the little things.
But when I came back here, everything started.
And you
working.
came back, and you were actually in Mexico City again. Or you were, when you came back?
I came back to North Carolina, and from North Carolina, I made a road trip with a friend of mine all the way to the Everglades and then out to Dallas. And it was during that trip, in one of the long rides, in which I got out the car, and even when you're healthy, after driving for hours and hours, you get out the car and something hurts, right?
Sure.
You look for the pain to just do some stretching or some movement. And I looked for the pain, and that was the first time in my life that I didn't find any pain in my body.
Oh my gosh, were you like ready to do jumping jacks?
I was ready to do anything.
Cartwheels.
And that was the moment when I decided that I was going to teach Qin and Qigong, and that's how the story. Yeah.
All right. So where does that take you now? So I mean, you obviously have already a group of followings because I've been on your website.
Yeah. Well, that's taken me to teach over 25,000 people.
Wow.
And that has taken me to become a father when that was very unlikely in my situation.
So you're married.
I am married.
And we talked about I met your two daughters. How old are they?
9 and 7.
9 and 7. So at one point in your life, you never believed you were going to have a family.
Not at all. Not at all. I've been healthy for 23 years.
Wow.
I still to this moment, I'm 52. And still in this moment, I've been sick more years than I've been healthy.
Right. Well, you look fantastic for 52. You do have a glow.
So
I don't know if you've noticed that he does have a very healthy glow.
Yeah. Do you go to 33 tanning spots? Sponsor.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And it's been a ride. It's been amazing. I've trained athletes. I've trained entrepreneurs. I've trained a lot of people struggling with health issues, and with success stories that really shocked me. Even after what I've been through, still my students every day they give me the gift of sharing with me their amazing accomplishments.
Is your training all remote, or is it in person, or?
It was in person for the first 20 years, and after COVID hit, I moved everything online, and it has worked amazingly because online.
But you can still get the same benefits because you're talking about the video. You don't have to be in person, like in the presence of the teacher.
Yeah,
you can do it
in
online.
The beginning, it was not accepted in China to train through a video.
Right. Okay.
And so I was very, very by the book, and I am. But when COVID hit, a lot of people were asking me to do the training on video. So I contacted one of the main authorities of the hospital in China, and I asked him to explain to the audience, to the people, why I couldn't teach this online. And he said, things have changed. Now it's moment to teach
It's like
online.
game on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're launching your business here in Florida now.
Yes, for the first time in English. I always trained some people in English throughout the years, but this is the first time in which my full platform, my entire training is available in English language online, fully online, so anybody can access it.
Okay. And so how does everyone even get started? First of all, who are you looking for? Are you looking for the people that are sick? Are you looking for athletes? Are you just looking for all of it? If people want to see improvement in their life.
Like I said, this knowledge is not only for those who are struggling with disease. This knowledge is for anybody who wants to improve, who prevent or heal diseases or improve their performance in any area of their lives, whether it's
hiccups or menopause or,
What about stress, anxiety?
Absolutely. That's like my everyday story with success with the students, the people who go all the way to the hospital for anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and are transferred through on an ambulance every day. And after the training, it's never repeated again for years. So it's a very simple training. Is 22 hours.
Okay, so somebody, they get onto your website. Is that the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yes.
So tell everybody the website.
That's www.eduardo-osegueda.com.
Okay, so we're going to have that spelt out. But so they go there and then they go through the website, and is it they just buy it online? How does that work?
Yeah, on the website there's in the menu they're going to see training. They hit training and they're taken to the payment gate and they access the training automatically and they do it at their own pace. Whereas before that exact same training was in only 2 days, very intensive days from beginning to end. Now,
so the video I saw is the same training as what you're selling online.
Yes.
Okay, that's very interesting. Do you mind saying how much it costs on the radio?
Yeah, it's 2,500 around 2,500.
Right. But I meant to feel good. That sounds pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, and you know what? I spend so much money in trainings, so many different things. And always one training led you to the next one and to the next one and to the next one. And it was so frustrating when you're in pain and you're suffering, you're sick and you are broken. and having to spend so much. This training, it has everything they need to achieve these kind of results.
Well, that sounds amazing. All right, so that means that we are wrapping up. So to get all of Eduardo's information, you can just find everything. I'm going to be posting everything on my Facebook and Instagram platforms. Eduardo, thanks for being here today.
Yes, thank you so much.
And what you got?
Oh, you can find me on strikingbrand.com.
Oh, no.
I don't know. I don't know what you needed.
Anyway, all right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for being with us this week. And I'm Angela, and you can reach me at angela@baadradio.com. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope to catch you next week on BaaD.